Welcome to the Forces Sports Show, your weekly roundup of the best action and biggest stories from across the services. Coming up in the next half hour. High sea success. Army yacht British soldier completes the 7-star sailing challenge. High altitude, high drama. Inter-services battles in mid-air at the parachuting championships. And on a high, the UK's Battleback golfers proved too good for Australia. The Army's ocean-going yacht British Soldier has finished 10th in the 2018 7-star Round Britain and Ireland race. Skippered by Major Will Naylor, the journey took 12 days to complete as the Army finished 5th in class. Imri's Clean Energy stormed to victory in 8 days, 4 hours and 14 minutes. That could be a new world record for boats under 40 foot.
The Round Britain Island race tends to give you all weather. We've used every sail in the locker at least once. Most of the crew haven't done the race before. I think the key thing is just keeping going and know when to put the hammer down and when to crack off a little bit, get some rest, and get ready for the next phase. It's a long race, and if you put the hammer down the whole time, you don't tend to finish. So it's all about balance.
More than 150 Forces parachutists competed at the Inter-Services Championships at Netheravon on Salisbury Plain. Mixed weather conditions limited the jumping opportunities, but the top Army, RAF and Royal Navy jumpers still produced some fine performances. On show here across the week, competitors are being tested in a variety of formats, including landing accuracy, formation skydiving and the amazing wingsuits. Cloudy and windy conditions during the week have reduced the flying and jumping opportunities, which means when they are in the sky, they're making the most of it.
Monday was purely accuracy, which means that we don't have to go so high. So it was sort of between 3,500 and 5,000 feet for the altitude that we were jumping from. But for the higher disciplines, we're looking at more between 12,000 and 15,000 feet. So yeah, it can be quite frustrating at times when the cloud and the wind, or the combination of both indeed, that could stop us from doing what we want to do.
RAF sports parachuting has improved beyond all measure in the past few years. Their team here are hoping to push for major honours and also take their skills to the British National Championships.
You'd be surprised. In formation skydiving at this competition, the Air Force normally come out at the top. Out of the 3 teams, we can normally expect 2 golds, and that's pretty much been the way for the last 8-9 years. We start early on in the year with a selection process and we compete on the United Kingdom Skydiving League circuit.
When they're not jumping, the teams keep up their training, simulating their moves on the ground.
They get scored in the competition in only 35 seconds from leaving the plane for 35 seconds, so there's not a lot of time. So to make it happen right, we do a lot of stuff on the ground. And what they're doing at the moment on these creepers is it's a visualisation. So the formations that we see them doing are exactly the same as what they're going to try and do in freefall, and it really helps them get the formations right when they're up there.
Because the standards are so high, judging has been incredibly difficult. Jumpers are also setting their own benchmarks to qualify them for more advanced licences, and that's really important for the Army display team members.
Just literally hitting my 200 jumps now, which is going to give me my C licence, which gives me a clearance to actually join the RLC skydiving team rather than being the ground crew sort of commentator sort of role, which I'm really looking forward to doing.
The UK Battleback golf team have beaten Australia to win the Clyde Pierce Memorial Cup at Celtic Manor. In the Ryder Cup style tournament for wounded, injured and sick service personnel and veterans, it was 6-4 to the UK going into the final day of singles matches, as Kath Brazier reports.
Whatever the sport, that age-old rivalry still exists. Australia, the enemy, the opposition, the ultimate foe.
That's what happens when you try and hit it too hard.
But the hugs, the smiles, the friendly banter, that's all genuine.
Nice.
United on the golf course, Battleback and Soldier On have a common cause.
This is good rehab.
For 6 years going through my injury, I took a lot out of life, a lot of other people's life, because I was struggling, and I tended to need a lot. And now I'm back, and Invictus helped a lot, and golf helps a lot.
Towering high on his prosthetics and with a personality to match, it's easy to see why this man was chosen to be Team UK's Invictus leader in Toronto last year, where golf was one of the 4 sports he competed in.
Invictus, arguably the nicest way, probably ruined my golf because of wheelchair rugby, swimming and sitting volleyball, because the shoulders did not let me swing nicely. Absolutely, we've won today. So, yeah, my golf is back on the mend.
Bernie won his singles match against Clint Bird, but it was Fiona Gray that got the winning ball rolling. Playing off a 9 handicap, the former corporal played army, combined service and county golf before her knees gave out.
The last 3 years I haven't picked up a club. My clubs have been in storage. I couldn't swing, it was too painful to do anything, and now I've only played 3 competitions before coming here, and I've got better as the week has gone along, which is good, and I just want to keep it now. So it's brilliant.
So we'll see you in the future then?
You'll see me in the future, and hopefully a lot better and a lot lower handicap as well.
The Clyde Pierce Cup, named after an Australian amateur golfer killed in World War I, is competed annually and alternates between the UK and Australia. The players come from all over. New faces like Scott Blaney, who we last saw getting out of a boat in Antigua, having rowed across the Atlantic in 2014. And then there's past victors like Gary Meekins, pulling on all their experience to come out on top against some very impressive playing partners.
Thanks, OB.
10 matches over 18 holes under typically moody Welsh skies. But despite the odd setback, both the weather and the UK held strong on the day, Battleback taking the spoils 13.5 points to 6.5. This is their 4th win in a row, and the 2nd time this event has been held on the 2010 course, which famously hosted the Ryder Cup 8 years ago.
I've got my hair wet now.
The RAF's Amy Cockayne is one of the biggest stars in forces sport. Last year she played a key role as England reached the final of the Women's Rugby World Cup. She comes from a well-travelled family rich in military tradition. Julian Evans has been to meet them.
Followers of Forces Rugby will be familiar with seeing Amy Cockayne tearing up the turf on inter-services duty. The RAF star has become a fan's favourite in the shirt of England and club-side Wasps, but this mobile front row was nearly lost to the English game. She hails from a family of oval ball devotees. Dad Ian is a coach with the Royal Air Force Women, and Lichfield, as brother Tom has featured for the Rifles rugby team. The sports-mad siblings spent their formative years growing up on the other side of the world after the family emigrated, allowing Ian to take up a role with the New Zealand Air Force. However, as Amy got older, her talent on the rugby pitch presented the family with a monumental decision, as Ian explains.
Amy was doing really well at rugby over there, and her school teacher asked her did she want to play for England or New Zealand, and she was in the New Zealand squad. And she said, well, there's no possibility of playing for England. So he took that as she wanted to play for England and rang England up, and they were coming over on a tour, so they sat down with me and Amy's mum and talked over the options. Then we just left Amy with a choice. Do you want to play for New Zealand or try and play for England? And she chose England, so we came back.
Having already emigrated once, the Cockaynes made the 11,500-mile return journey. The faith in Amy's ability paid off. At just 21, she's already amassed 41 England caps. Her first outing for the Red Roses came as a teenager, a proud but nervous day for the family.
She came on for a debut. It was against Italy at the Stoop, and of course it was a line out. And I was thinking, don't throw it in wrong. And they called a back ball, so they knew she was 18 years old. It's her first cap and it's her first line out, and they still called the back ball, which probably, I don't know if that's just they were tired and forgot, or shows how much they trusted Amy's throwing. And to be fair, she nailed it. And after that, I think she gets the first one, then I can relax.
For big brother Tom, having a kid sister as an England rugby international has its rewards.
I've kind of got best of both worlds. I don't have to train as an international and I get all the free kit. So it's really good. And if you go to the block at Aldershot, half the lads are rocking around with England kit and chances are it's probably Amy. So the banter suddenly stopped then when they were getting the kit. But the lads are now actually starting to follow the women's game, which is quite a positive to see. It's not just pushed under the carpet, like they are actually enjoying it and watching it and knowing more about it.
With 3 members of the family in the military, they are used to being apart. During a stint serving in Iraq, Tom was keen to keep tabs on how Amy was getting on.
It was frustrating that I couldn't see the games, and well, I mean, we did have Wi-Fi over there, but you couldn't ever load the videos. So you'd see Amy scored. I think she scored a hat-trick in one of the games while I was away, and it's frustrating that you can only read about it. So that was more frustrating than you couldn't see how she was doing. I managed to send a few messages to her and stuff like that. So there was lines of communication which made it a lot easier than probably how past tours have been for other people where there was probably nothing.
Amy is now taking a short sabbatical from rugby so she can focus on officer training at Cranwell, allowing her to commission into the RAF Police. She's equally proud of Tom's achievements, and there is a sense both are set to fulfil their destiny.
He always said he wanted to join the army, but I never thought he was going to do it. And to see him going away to Iraq and stuff like that, you know, me and my mum had to drive him down and dropped him off, and I had to drive because my mum was crying too much. So, you know, that was a very proud moment. Had a nice picture and was just like, he's actually living his dream, and it might not be sporting, but it's still what his dream was as a kid, and he's lived it. And we actually had this picture of when we were both very young. I was probably like 2. I had a police hat on and he had an army hat on. And to see now that I'm joining the police and he's in the army, it's quite cool that we've both kind of grown up to do what we always wanted to do.
There's no denying sport has influenced Amy's life. Her initials AVFC come courtesy of Ian's passion for Aston Villa. She even played in goal for the club's girls team as a youngster. Despite her impressive sporting CV, there is one glaring omission, and each Inter-Services Rugby Championship, Tom is quick to remind his sister.
I give Amy loads of banter that she can't beat the army.
Yeah.
It's all well and good beating the Navy, but if you can't beat the army, what?
It's going to happen. It will happen. I can't wait for the day. But yeah, he's very honest and open about the fact that we still haven't beaten the army. But I can't wait for the day where we can rub it in.
Amy is due to return to rugby once her officer training is complete.
For the first time, all 3 Inter-Services rugby games are set to take place at professional stadiums. In 2019, the Army are taking their home fixtures against the RAF to Kingsholm. The games will take place on Saturday the 27th of April. Competition will end with the Army versus Navy clash at Twickenham on the 4th of May.
We want to assist inter-service rugby growing, and we had a really good crowd at the stadium in Aldershot 2 years ago, 2,500.
Yeah, it's great that military rugby is held in such high esteem that it can advertise what it does well on the pitch at these Premiership grounds.
The locals at Gloucester are rugby mad anyway. The Royal Air Force are going to be going there as the current inter-service champions. And, you know, not only the men, but the women's game, particularly between the Army and the Royal Air Force, is probably the most keenly contested women's game around at the moment, actually. Even when you look at the Tyrrell's Premiership, actually, you know, that it's a real humdinger of the game. So hopefully that certainly the men and the women will be on the Kingsholm pitch.
The UK Armed Forces women cricketers finished off their season with a win in the annual triangular tournament, newly named the Mabway Trophy. The military side beat both the Club Cricket Conference and Marylebone Cricket Club on consecutive days in Aldershot. The UCAF team followed up a 5-wicket win over the CCC with a last ball victory against the MCC, beating them by 2 runs. The team also recently toured Africa as part of initiatives to boost women's cricket, but also to stamp out gender inequality.
With Kenya, we were supporting Opening Boundaries as an initiative out there, bowling out domestic violence. And then just on Monday, we were up in Leeds and Bradford, playing at Bradford Cricket Club for the first women's game in 37 years. Again, supporting Opening Boundaries, this time doing bowling out gender inequality.
I'm not saying at all that it takes away from the cricket, but it's something that men's game doesn't really need, but doesn't really have. You've got a dual purpose and you still get to play good cricket as well.
Yeah, it's fabulous, and I think it showed, particularly on Monday, how well the girls did based on just supporting the kids out there, doing a bit of coaching before the game. I think it shows how much we enjoy our cricket and actually gives us a great opportunity to take cricket forward for the youth coming through, and particularly for women.
The Purple Warriors team supports wounded, injured and sick ex-service personnel through the Chinese sport of dragon boat racing. They recently claimed a medal at the World Club Crew Championships. Hannah King followed the team on their journey to Hungary to find out what motivates them.
Who are we? Warriors! Who are we? Warriors! Who are we? Warriors! Okay, line up, guys.
In 2015, two men had a vision to build a dragon boat crew of wounded, injured and sick servicemen and women. A sporting endeavour that would bring back the military team spirit, the camaraderie and the banter.
I'm a better person for the dragon boating. I put all my aggression and everything that I feel into that paddle. And when I smash that water, every single time, there's a bit of me going with it. The bad side of me.
Why do I dragon boat? It kind of happened by accident. The actual physical side's hard for me, but as a person and my spirit afterwards, I never feel so good. I just love it so much. And when you're in that boat, actually, it's the only time. The pain's not screaming in my head when I'm busy racing down a 200-metre course. It's the only time. And I think that's just the passion coming out.
And if you didn't have dragon boating in your life, it sounds funny because it's just a sport, but it's not just a sport, is it?
It's not. Not when it comes to Purple Warriors. We are like truly a family, and without dragon boating, I just don't know. My life would be so different.
Dragon boating is big in Hungary. The championships kick off with a parade through the town, and an aerial display wows the 6,000 paddlers. The Purple Warriors wait nervously on the start line, and then the Warriors storm the start, their race plan falling into place with military precision. But by the time I meet them at the finish line, it seems something had gone wrong.
Hey! He'll make a flip-flop. Just basically capsized. It's good though.
That race was probably one of the finest races we've been in, and that was our first 10-man boat race. Utterly superb. And then we had the benefit of an early bath. On our shirt we have the words destiny, struggle and achievement, and they're quite important words. Their destiny was to lose their leg, was to be blown up, shot through the spine, to suffer multiple sclerosis. Whatever it was, that was their destiny. And we help them with their struggle on a daily basis. And that can be quite emotional when you see the way in which they deal with it and how brave they are in facing up to what life has given them. That can make you quite emotional. But it makes it immensely satisfying when you get them on the water and they paddle like a demon team and show unimpaired crews that their impairments are actually peripheral. What matters is they're in a boat in a team together.
The unscheduled swim wasn't the first drama of the day. A small argument with the Australians left the Dragon a little worse for wear. Lightning struck Szeged mid-afternoon, leading to the evacuation of all boats.
Now we get Tash out, please.
And by the time the racing was done for the day, some of the paddlers were literally exhausted.
Are you all right, Craig?
Bit sore and broken. I think it was mainly just due to the amount of time that we were sat out on the water waiting to go for the race. Body just didn't want to respond normally.
The guys and girls have worked incredibly hard. They've come together as a team in a way that I never expected at a club crew world championships for a bunch of impaired, veterans, I nearly said misfits, but they're not. They're not misfits. They are members of my family, and they have excelled themselves today. They've exceeded my expectations. I do have tears in my eyes because it's actually quite an emotional day.
The Purple Warriors have done what they came to do, to show the world what can be achieved as a team, regardless of the challenges they face. They'll return home to the UK, exhausted but proud.
Who are we? Warriors!
And that's it for this week. Don't forget you can see all the action as we get it on forces.net and this show and more on YouTube. We'll leave you with highlights from the Inter-Services Tennis Championships in Birmingham.